Every star that shines in Hollywood carries its own darkness. Some are merely actors, others just artists. But there are a few who want to be everything. James Franco is exactly a name caught in between: actor, director, writer, painter, academic. A rebellious soul with unconventional choices and a controversial life, he engraved his name in film history. So, what is the story behind this multifaceted man who achieved success? How did he spiral at the peak of fame? And how did he lose himself amid it all? If you're ready, let's take a closer look at one of the most complex faces of art, the life of James Franco. James Edward Franco was born on April 19, 1978 in Palo Alto, California. His mother, Betsy Lou, was a children's book author and actress. His father, Douglas Franco, was an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. Art and entrepreneurship lived under the same roof in their home. James, of Jewish and Portuguese descent, was the eldest of three brothers. He was very close to his younger brothers, Tom and Dave Franco. The latter also pursued an acting career. He grew up in a tech-savvy upper-class suburb. But inside this seemingly ideal life, something different was growing within James Franco: a rebellious spirit, a questioning mind, and a heart that refused to be ordinary. During high school, he was a brilliant student in math, yet socially introverted. His interest in art began with painting and writing, but soon his curiosity for the camera took over. Even as a teenager, the artist within him had awakened, and this awakening would be the first step on a long journey that would lead him to both greatness and chaos. James Franco's passion for art wasn't just a hobby. This passion, when combined with a character that clashed with systems and questioned rules, pulled him away from normalcy and toward a different path. During high school, he painted, wrote, and took refuge in books. At the same time, he experienced deep inner unrest. He disliked rules, frequently clashed with authority, and was a lonely but profound thinker. He was looking for a way to express himself, and he found it not in classrooms, but in art. However, this search was not an easy one. At a young age, he encountered alcohol and minor crimes like graffiti. Sometimes he acted in ways that defied societal norms, which got him in trouble with the police. For Franco, art wasn't just expression, it was a form of rebellion. Though his family approached this rebellious side with concern, the energy inside Franco only grew stronger. On one hand, he was smart enough to compete in math Olympiads. On the other, rebellious enough to skip school. This contradictory identity would later lay the foundation for his multifaceted artistic persona. He would never be a man confined to a single role, neither on screen nor in life. Searching for his path with a rebellious soul, James Franco made a life-changing decision in the late 90s. He dropped out of college and began studying acting. This decision caused tension within his family, but James didn't back down. His first step into acting was quite modest. He appeared in a commercial for a fast food chain, trying to open a jar of jam in front of the camera. It may have only been a few seconds on screen, but for Franco, it was a turning point. "I finally felt like I was where I belonged," he would say years later. In 1999, he debuted on television with the cult teen series Freaks and Geeks. His tough demeanor, melancholic gaze, and mysterious attitude made him stand out quickly. Even though the series was short-lived, James Franco's star had begun to rise. This wasn't going to be an ordinary acting journey. He wasn't just after fame, he was after transformation, challenge, and reinvention. The doors of Hollywood were slowly opening, but both fortune and turbulent storms awaited him on that path. Some shows don't last long, but become legendary. Freaks and Geeks, which aired in 1999, was exactly such a project. And one of the most attention-grabbing young actors in it was James Franco. Franco played Daniel Desario, a rebellious and indifferent teenager. Themes like the suffocation of high school life, the confusion of youth, and inner emptiness merged with his character. The camera loved his natural charisma. So did the audience. Freaks and Geeks wasn't just a teen show. It reflected the spirit of an era, and Franco brought that spirit to the screen with his stance, expressions, and gaze. The cast today is full of big names: Seth Rogen, Jason Segel, Linda Cardellini. But James Franco was the most enigmatic figure in that group. Everyone sensed he would go in a different direction, that he wouldn't be just another TV actor, because within him was an artist who didn't see acting as mere performance. The show only lasted one season, but it became a powerful springboard for Franco's career. He was now a talent to watch, and the real leap would come very soon. The turning point in James Franco's career came in 2001. He was set to portray an iconic Hollywood star who died young, James Dean. For the TV film about Dean's life, Franco prepared for months. His physical resemblance to Dean was already striking. But Franco wasn't aiming for mere imitation. He wanted to convey Dean's fragile soul, deep loneliness, and repressed anger. To prepare for the role, he learned to smoke, ride a motorcycle, and even play guitar. He was now an actor seeking his own identity through portraying another, and his efforts paid off. His performance received critical acclaim. Franco won a Golden Globe and was nominated for an Emmy and a SAG award. This success moved him beyond being just a promising talent. He had now become one of Hollywood's rising stars. With his role as James Dean, Franco brought a legend back to life. But perhaps unknowingly, he also began creating his own legend. The project that introduced James Franco to a broader audience was the 2002 film Spider-Man, directed by Sam Raimi. In it, he played Harry Osborn, Peter Parker's best friend and the son of the Green Goblin. This role brought Franco not only fame, but also the opportunity to portray a complex character. Harry was both friend and foe, both a victim and someone trapped in the shadow of his father's legacy. Franco's performance powerfully reflected the character's internal conflict. While Harry was an emotional supporting role in the first film, he turned into a much darker figure in the sequels. With Spider-Man 2 in 2004 and Spider-Man 3 in 2007, his story deepened. Even amid action-packed scenes, Franco didn't ignore the psychological layers of the character, and this helped him stand out not just as a handsome young actor, but as a serious performer. The Spider-Man series broke box office records around the world. Thanks to this success, James Franco became a global star. But all this glory wouldn't be enough to satisfy his artistic soul, because Franco wasn't just chasing popularity, he was searching for depth and meaning. For James Franco, the year 2010 marked one of the most unforgettable performances of his career. In 127 hours, based on a true survival story, he portrayed mountaineer Aaron Ralston. Ralston gets trapped by a boulder during a climb and survives by amputating his own arm after 5 days. The entire film focuses almost solely on one actor, and that actor's face, emotions, fear, and hope captivate the viewer from start to finish. Franco underwent both a physical and psychological challenge for the role. He filmed for hours in a real cave in tight spaces. He convincingly portrayed thirst, despair, and the mental state of a man talking to himself in isolation. His performance mesmerized both the cinema world and audiences. Critics called it a one-man masterpiece. The film was nominated for 6 Oscars. James Franco was nominated for Best Actor and also received nominations from the Golden Globes and BAFTA. This role proved that Franco wasn't just a popular face, but a performer who poured soul into his characters. It became the cornerstone of his acting career. 127 Hours was a film that pushed Franco's physical limits, but more importantly, it proved his emotional depth. James Franco never saw acting as a one-dimensional journey. He wanted to have a voice not only in front of the camera, but also behind it. Starting in 2005, he began directing. His first projects were small-scale short films, but even those reflected his unique artistic vision. Rule-breaking, experimental, sometimes uncomfortable, but always authentic. Franco didn't like ordinary stories. He even attempted to adapt William Faulkner's notoriously difficult novels, As I Lay Dying and The Sound and the Fury, for the screen. These choices also highlighted his academic and literary side. He directed documentaries and biographical works focusing on Bohemian literary figures like Charles Bukowski, Allen Ginsberg, and Hart Crane. Franco's films were not always made for mass appeal. but they resonated with those who wrestled with art. Sometimes he combined acting, directing, and writing in a single project. In films like Child of God, 2013, he took on all three roles. For him, directing wasn't a power move, it was a form of expression. He didn't focus on commercial success, nor did he pay much attention to criticism. At times, he was called too intellectual, other times, incomprehensible. But he always continued making his kind of cinema because for James Franco, filmmaking wasn't just a career, it was a way to explore and express his inner world.